In this video, we'll be taking a look at 4 NBA games happening on January 26, 2026, and providing you with free team picks and total picks for each one of those games, so 8 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released so that you have more time to plan out your bets as we provide these videos on a daily basis. I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on these 4 NBA games after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start, if you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below, where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. Indiana Pacers versus Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks welcomed the Indiana Pacers to State Farm Arena on Monday afternoon in one of those weird early tips that can throw both teams out of rhythm a bit. Indiana is coming off a strange little stretch. They lost to the Celtics, then turned around and shocked the Thunder as 15.5 underdogs, and they have the Bulls on deck next. Even with that massive upset, they have still dropped 4 of their last 6 games, so the mood around this team has been pretty up and down. That Thunder win was only their 3rd road victory in 22 tries, which says a lot. They finally cashed as a huge dog, but their overall away profile is rough, with that 3-19 straight-up mark hanging over everything they do on the road. It feels like a team that can rise for a big spot, then struggle to sustain it for more than a night or two. The Hawks are in a similar kind of limbo, just in a different lane. They beat the Grizzlies and the Suns, and they get the Celtics next, so the schedule has not exactly been gentle. Even with those 2 nice wins, they have still lost 17 of their last 26 games, which is why nobody is exactly racing to trust them yet. Still, back-to-back wins have at least brought a bit of optimism back into the locker room, especially with McCollum giving them a steady spark off the bench. Head-to-head, Atlanta has absolutely controlled this matchup recently. They went into Indiana at the start of November and ran away with a 128-108 win. That was their 3rd straight victory over the Pacers, and across that stretch they are outscoring Indiana by almost 10 points per game. On top of that, the Hawks are 3-0 straight up and against the spread in their last 3 against the Pacers, and they have covered 4 straight in the series overall. So the market leaning to Atlanta as the favorite here does not come out of nowhere. Both teams are also missing key pieces. Indiana is still without Quentin Jackson, Tyrese Halliburton, and Benedict Mathurin, and that trio being out has been a huge part of why their season never really got off the ground. Atlanta has Kristaps Porzingis and Zachary Resacca ruled out again, which takes away some size and versatility that would really help their defense. The Pacers, as a group, have not been able to get on any kind of consistent roll this year. That win over the Thunder gives them something positive, a genuine jolt of confidence, especially because it felt like revenge after getting handled before. You can almost see them thinking, if they could do that as such big dogs, maybe they can hang around with anyone for a night. The Hawks, for their part, were in a pretty ugly funk before these last 2 wins. They are starting to look a little more like a functioning team again, but the cracks are still there. Even in this recent stretch, they sit only 19th in defense over the last 5 games, which tells you their issues on that end did not magically disappear once they moved on from Trae Young. If they want to climb up the Eastern standings, that defensive side has to get better, and missing Porzingis and Resacca on Monday does not exactly help that goal. Here is the thing, from a big picture point of view, it barely makes sense for Indiana to go all out here. Their season is basically cooked, and they do not realistically have a path to the play-in tournament, especially with Halliburton still nowhere near returning. Atlanta, on the other hand, is still trying to jockey for position in the East, and games like this against a short-handed, poor road team are the ones they simply have to stack if they want to sniff the 6th seed. I did seriously consider just taking the points with the Pacers because I do not think that highly of the Hawks right now, and early afternoon starts often lead to choppy, sluggish basketball that favors the team catching points. This game was not even scheduled to be this early at first, which only adds to the potential for some ugly stretches. But then you stare at that 3-19 straight-up road record again, and it is tough to ignore. Meanwhile, the Hawks are coming off those nice underdog wins against Memphis and Phoenix, so their confidence is in a decent place, even if their flaws are still obvious. All of that noise points to a tight game. I understand why Atlanta is favored, given the matchup history and the motivational angle, but there is still that nagging feeling that Indiana can ride the emotional boost from the Thunder upset into one more surprise. Despite all the reasons to doubt them, the Pacers still feel a bit live to pull another upset here, especially if the Hawks slip back into some of their old habits for stretches. As our first pick for this matchup, the Indiana Pacers to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. The Pacers are averaging 110.1 points per game on 44.2% shooting from the field, while giving up 118.2 points on 48.3% shooting. They hit 34.2% of their threes and 76.4% at the free throw line. Defensively on the perimeter, they allow opponents to shoot 34.1% from deep, and they pull down 43 rebounds per night. Atlanta brings more offense, but not much more resistance. The Hawks are putting up 117.5 points per game on 47.5% shooting and allowing 118.7 points on 47.7%. From beyond the arc, they knock down 37%, and they shoot 77.4% from the line. They allow opponents to hit 35.7% of their threes and collect about 42.1 rebounds per game. So you have one team that scores at a solid rate but bleeds points on the other end, and another that scores even more while giving almost as much back. The field goal numbers and the three-point percentages on both sides hint at a matchup where possessions should regularly end in quality looks, even if the energy is not perfect for all four quarters. Rebounding numbers are close enough that neither side projects to completely control the glass, which usually helps scoring stay on track because both teams get their share of second chances and quick runouts. Put together, those profiles point toward another game where both offenses can find some rhythm, even if the play itself gets a little ragged at times. Given how often both defenses allow efficient shooting nights, it is hard not to expect a healthy combined total on the scoreboard here. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. Philadelphia 76ers versus Charlotte Hornets. The Philadelphia 76ers head to the Spectrum Center to face the Charlotte Hornets on Monday, and it is one of those spots where both teams come in with a bit of momentum, but very different storylines. The 76ers are fresh off a loss to the Knicks, a win over the Rockets, and they already have the Bucks waiting for them next. They have still managed to take 8 of their last 14 games, which is solid, but it does not really feel like a smooth, confident stretch. Charlotte, on the other hand, has quietly been putting together some positive results of its own. They beat the Magic and the Wizards recently, and they get the Grizzlies after this game. They have taken 5 of their last 8, so for a group that has had its rough patches, there is at least a sense that things are trending in a friendlier direction. As for personnel, that is where a lot of the tension in this matchup sits. The 76ers currently have Joel Embiid and Paul listed to return for this game, which is obviously massive, yet still carries that let us double-check closer to tip kind of energy that fans know too well. The Hornets, meanwhile, remain without Mason Plumlee and KJ Simpson, so their rotation is a bit thinner, especially in terms of size and depth. These teams already crossed paths once this season. Back on October 25th, the 76ers took that meeting by a score of 125 to 121. Since then, though, a lot has changed in terms of form, rhythm, and who is actually available on a nightly basis. Philadelphia has struggled to string together a long, clean run because it feels like someone is always hurt, limited, or simply getting a night off. Just when they look ready to surge, another absence pops up and they are patching the lineup again. Charlotte has gone in the opposite direction lately, playing some pretty decent basketball with those recent wins over the Thunder, Lakers, Nuggets, Magic, and Wizards. That kind of list is not nothing, and it naturally builds some confidence in a young group. The 76ers will absolutely like their chances here if Embiid and Paul are indeed out there, because their ceiling with those two on the floor is still higher than what Charlotte can usually reach. At the same time, there is still that injury cloud hanging over them, and that uncertainty can make it hard to fully trust what version of Philadelphia you are getting across 48 minutes. The Hornets have the form edge, the home court, and a bit of swagger from their recent results, but they are also still shorthanded and dealing with a team that can control a game inside if its main pieces are active. So the question becomes whether you lean into the Hornets' recent surge or the 76ers' talent advantage with their stars projected to play. As our first pick for this matchup, the Philadelphia 76ers to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. The Philadelphia 76ers are averaging 116.7 points on 45.7% shooting and allowing 115.5 points on 46.4% shooting. The Philadelphia 76ers are shooting 35.4% from beyond the arc and 81.4% from the free throw line. The Philadelphia 76ers are allowing 34.7% shooting from deep and are grabbing 44 rebounds per game. On the other side, the Charlotte Hornets are putting up 116 points on 46.2% shooting and also allowing 115.5 points on 47.7% shooting. The Charlotte Hornets are shooting 36.9% from beyond the arc and 81.1% from the free throw line. The Charlotte Hornets are allowing 36.9% shooting from deep and are grabbing 45.6 rebounds per game. So even before you get into any matchups or names, you are looking at two teams that score in roughly the same range and give up almost the same amount. Both shoot well enough from three to stretch the floor, and both hit their free throws at a level that keeps points flowing once whistles start blowing. The rebounding numbers are close, which suggests neither side should completely dominate the glass, and that usually keeps possessions fairly balanced. When defenses allow this level of efficiency and offenses already live in that mid-100 teens range, it usually points toward a game where the scoreboard stays busy for most of the night. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. Orlando Magic versus Cleveland Cavaliers. The Orlando Magic head into Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse on Monday night to square off with the Cleveland Cavaliers, and both teams arrive in very different moods. The Magic are coming off losses to the Cavaliers and Hornets, and they have the Heat waiting next on the schedule. Even with those stumbles, they have still won 22 of their last 39 games, which is a respectable clip, but the way they have gotten there has felt pretty uneven. Cleveland, meanwhile, is trending upward. The Cavaliers just took down the Magic and the Kings, and they get the Lakers after this. They have won 10 of their last 14, so their form has a steadier, more confident feel to it, even as they deal with their own personnel issues. Speaking of personnel, that part of the story matters quite a bit here. The Magic have ruled out Franz Wagner again, which takes away a key offensive connector and a versatile wing who helps them on both ends. On the Cavaliers side, Darius Garland, Max Strus, and Sam Merrill remain out, so they are still operating with some important pieces missing from their perimeter rotation. It is never easy to beat the same opponent twice in a row, and that is the challenge in front of Cleveland. Orlando has been maddeningly inconsistent lately. They have picked up wins over quality teams like the Trail Blazers and the Nuggets, which shows their ceiling. Then, right after that, they have dropped their last 3 games by an average of 19 points, which shows how quickly things can slide when their focus dips. In contrast, the Cavaliers look like they are heating back up despite their injury issues. Their core identity, especially at home, is built around spacing the floor, trusting perimeter creation, and letting the ball swing until a clean 3 appears. When that rhythm is there, they do not need to make the game ugly. That was on full display the last time these teams met. Cleveland dictated shot quality, controlled tempo, and kept Orlando from dragging the contest into the kind of slow, bruising grind the Magic usually enjoy. Orlando is at its best when possessions turn physical, spacing gets cramped, and opponents are forced into tough mid-range jumpers and contested drives. The Cavaliers flipped that script by stretching the floor and letting threes fly in volume. Their offense leans heavily on perimeter creation and ball movement, and when that structure is working, it creates a steady stream of high-value looks. Over time, those extra points from efficient threes create separation, not in one big burst, but through a steady accumulation of slightly better shots. Orlando's defense has a much sharper edge at home. Their energy, communication, and physicality tend to hold longer in their own building, with the crowd behind them. On the road, that same approach is harder to sustain, especially against a team comfortable playing faster, confident from deep, and backed by its own crowd. The spread on this game reflects that reality clearly enough. There is nothing here that strongly suggests the Cavaliers cannot pull off another double-digit victory in their own arena if they simply stick to the same formula. They already showed that they know how to pull Orlando out of its comfort zone, and nothing in the recent form points away from that script. As our first pick for this matchup, the Cleveland Cavaliers to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. The Orlando Magic are averaging 115.4 points on 46.4% shooting from the field and allowing 115.5 points on 47.9% shooting. The Orlando Magic are shooting 33.9% from beyond the arc and 79.3% from the free throw line. The Orlando Magic are allowing 36.5% shooting from deep and are grabbing 44.3 rebounds per game. On the other side, the Cleveland Cavaliers are averaging 119.2 points on 47% shooting and allowing 116.9 points on 46.4% shooting. The Cleveland Cavaliers are shooting 35.5% from beyond the arc and 78.2% from the free throw line. The Cleveland Cavaliers are allowing 37.8% shooting from deep and are grabbing 44.8 rebounds per game. At first glance, those stats point toward a high-scoring environment. Both teams sit in that mid-100 teens range on offense, and both allow opponents to reach similar territory. Field goal percentages are solid, not elite, but comfortably above mediocre. Three-point percentages show that both sides can hurt you from outside, and both defenses are vulnerable enough on the perimeter that open threes will likely be there. Rebounding numbers are close, which usually means neither team gets to bury the other in second-chance points, so the game does not necessarily tilt into total chaos. Here is the twist, though. The Magic's preferred style leans toward grinding possessions down, putting bodies on drivers, and forcing opposing offenses to work through traffic. If they can impose some of that physicality, it tends to slow pace and drag point totals down, even against a team that likes to shoot. Cleveland, with some of its perimeter rotation still sidelined, might not maintain peak offensive rhythm for all 4 quarters either. There can be stretches where they rely more on half-court execution and less on constant pace, especially if they are already controlling the flow. So while the raw averages suggest a game that could easily climb into a high total, the matchup dynamics leave plenty of room for a more controlled scoring environment. If Orlando manages to muddy things up even a little and Cleveland is content to lean on structure instead of constant tempo, that combination can keep the final number on the lower side of expectations. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Portland Trail Blazers versus Boston Celtics. The Portland Trail Blazers just wrapped up a quirky little stretch, beating the Heat, then falling to the Raptors, and now they turn their attention to the Wizards next on the calendar. Even with that stumble against Toronto, they have still won 11 of their last 15 games, which is not exactly what you would expect from such a short-handed group. Boston is in a slightly different rhythm. The Celtics beat the Nets, then slipped up against the Bulls, and they have the Hawks up next. They have still taken 20 of their last 29 games, so they remain very much in that tier of teams that expect to win more often than not, even when they are not fully satisfied with how it looks. In terms of injuries, Portland is still rolling with a patched-up roster. They remain without Chris Murray, Scoot Henderson, Matisse Thybulle, and Blake Wesley, so the depth chart is not exactly overflowing. The one bit of good news is that Denny Avdija has been upgraded to day-to-day, so there is at least a chance he is back in the mix, which would give them another capable body in the rotation. On the Celtics side, they are still missing Jason Tatum, which is obviously huge, even for a team that is used to dialing next man up. The Celtics opened as heavy favorites at home, and that part is no shock. They are at home, they are deeper overall, and they are coming off a rare loss, so there is a natural expectation that they will be locked in and looking to punch back. Still, there is an elephant in the room, and that is the fact that the Trail Blazers already beat Boston 114-108 back on December 28. So this is not some theoretical maybe they can hang situation. They have already gone into this matchup and walked out with a win. Honestly, that is part of why this number feels a bit disrespectful toward Portland. Even with so many guys in street clothes, they keep finding ways to win games and, just as importantly for bettors, cover spreads. The Trailblazers are 7-3 straight up and against the spread in their last 10 games, which is not the profile of a team that is simply hanging around as a punching bag. On the season, they are 26-20 against the spread, which puts them in the conversation as one of the top 5 cover teams in the league. They also have very recent experience thriving in this exact type of spot. They beat these Celtics a month ago as 7-point underdogs, so seeing another big number here naturally catches the eye. Meanwhile, since January 7, Boston is just 1-4 against the spread when favored by 5 or more points, which suggests that the market has been a little too optimistic about their margin in these heavier favorite roles. In that same month, Portland is 3-2 straight up when catching 5 or more points, which is wild for a team that is supposed to be outgunned. So when you put it all together, it feels perfectly reasonable to believe that, that, even if the Celtics manage to steady things and grab the win, the Trail Blazers are playing well enough and competing hard enough to keep this within single digits when the final horn sounds. As our first pick for this matchup, the Portland Trail Blazers to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. The Portland Trail Blazers are averaging 116.1 points on 45% shooting and allowing 117.8 points on 47.3% shooting. The Portland Trail Blazers are shooting 33.8% from beyond the arc and 77.9% from the free throw line. The Portland Trail Blazers are allowing 34.8% shooting from deep and are grabbing 45.3 rebounds per game. On the other side, the Boston Celtics are averaging 116.9 points on 47% shooting and allowing 110.3 points on 44.7% shooting. The Boston Celtics are shooting 36.9% from beyond the arc and 79.8% from the free throw line. The Boston Celtics are allowing 36.5% shooting from deep and are grabbing 44.8 rebounds per game. What jumps out is that both teams live in that mid-100 teens range on offense, but Boston's defensive numbers are noticeably stronger overall, especially in terms of field goal percentage allowed. Portland allows opponents to shoot at a higher clip from the field, yet they are not getting burned completely from outside, which keeps things from turning into a pure track meet every night. Boston, even while giving up some decent three-point looks at 36.5%, still holds opponents to a modest 44.7% overall, which tilts some games toward more controlled scoring stretches. Rebounding is fairly even, with both teams around that mid-40 range on the glass. That usually means neither side is living off endless second chances, and instead possessions tend to resolve in a more standard one-shot, one-outcome pattern. When you combine reasonably efficient offenses with defenses that can still force enough misses to prevent chaos, you often wind up in that zone where the total hovers around expectation rather than exploding past it. Factor in that Boston's defense at home often tightens up, and Portland's short-handed lineup can sometimes lean on slower, more deliberate possessions, and you get a setup where a slightly lower scoring outcome is very much on the table, even if a few stretches look fast and free-flowing. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed, subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.